When we first went off-grid, I told people there were two things I didn't want to think about, and those were water and power, which of course is everything about being off-grid. But particularly water was intimidating because having water running from the tap is something I've taken for granted for most of my life.
It's not just making life interesting, it's making it intentional. So if you're able to take responsibility for what you're doing and use your own body and your own mind to take care of yourself, then that's a great feeling to be directly contributing to your own well-being. Sadie, are you going to show Mom what we did this morning?
Yeah. Ma, we don't have to go out in because we're making a new water pump.
A new water pump? Wow!
She told me, she said, I know what this means. It means we don't have to go out and in. I said, what do you mean out and in? For water. So, inside sink. It clicked today.
Yeah, not an outside sink.
Even now, if I hear that people are going off-grid, that is the first thing I ask. Have you made a plan for water? Because it's so essential to life, and we're so unaccustomed to having to think about where it comes from.
You ready, Sadie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So we were pretty fired up to work on the ceiling because I had spent a big chunk of the winter planing ceiling paneling, and it's all ready to go. But I'm not ready to go. We have to do electrical before I can close anything in, including the ceiling. And before we close it in, we have to be able to spray some insulation in there. We already have about 1.5 inches, but we need half of our R value in closed cell foam. I have a bunch more spray foam to do, but you can only do it at 65 degrees or more. So we're shifting our focus because it is certainly not 65 degrees in here. March snow off of them. So we're shifting focus. We're not going to do the ceiling until it's warmer, until we have the electrical done and we're able to spray that foam. So we're working on the floor because everything's going to get better when we don't have a dirt floor. I got the little footer in for our spiral staircase. There's that, all ready to pour. You'll never see this because the floor is going to go over it. That out. Part of the floor is finalizing the plumbing coming in. Before we laid the foundation, we ran this 1-inch poly line from the spring. Now that I've sort of laid out the kitchen and figured out where things can go, I want the pump that's going to pull water out of the spring sitting as low as possible so that it doesn't have to pull vertically any further than absolutely necessary. So that will that'll save energy for us. So what I'm doing now is I'm digging out to get the pump to sit as low as the water pipe is, which is 3 feet below the ground, which is our frost depth. And then I'm using these are roofing panels. They're steel on both sides and about 2.5 inches of foam in between. And I figured they would be a good rigid panel, but also insulation to keep the whole water system the temperature of the inside of the house rather than the temperature of the ground. This is my little laser level. This is not terribly expensive and it doesn't do every job. but I mainly got this for installing cabinets, and it's able to shoot a level line. It also shoots a perfectly plumb line, which is handy at times, and what I had it on was it having both lines on there. So what I've done here is I've set it up. It's pretty low tech here on this brick, but where it's shooting is right at the level of where I want the top of this panel to end up, and which also represents the bottom of our slab. So our slab is we're gonna lay a form on the inside of this, and we're gonna pour the slab and actually cap this off with the slab. So what that does is it lets me know if I've dug far enough, because I know where I want the bottom of the floor of this box, and I know where the top of this needs to be. So I can just lay my tape in there and see where the line is hitting my tape, and I know that the hole is deep enough. So I'm also using it, I'm putting these panels in big and getting them sitting right where I want them, and then I'm letting the laser tell me where to cut so that it all ends up nice and level. So it is a lot of dirt work, and I do not enjoy dirt work, but it's way better than carrying water.
Water is not just a small thing around here. It's a really big deal. To have water in our house is a huge accomplishment.
Ready? We have pressurized water inside the house. Real deal indoor plumbing. Well, as real as we're going to get anyway. Okay, so here's what we did. If you look down in there, the black pipe coming in, that's the poly line coming from our from the storage tank. And then what I did is I installed a couple of things. Next in line is a strainer, and that just takes out any sediment so that little bits of grit and stuff don't get into your pump and ruin your pump. And then there's this little unit, which is the 12-volt pressure pump with a little pressure tank to it. This is really similar to what's in RVs for pumping out of a tank. This particular one, I think it's made for yachts or big boats where you have a higher flow need than just in an RV. It has a pressure switch on it, which when the pressure drops, you open up the valve and the pressure drops, it switches on the pump. And then when you close the valve and it builds up pressure, it switches the pump off. So it's pretty much an on-demand thing. It should be able to just take care of itself. It's, like I said, it's a 12-volt pump, and it's just going to tie directly into our battery bank. Right now I stole a battery out of our yurt battery bank just to be able to test it out. And I'm really happy with sort of how it turned out. It seems to provide plenty of pressure. It's able to self-prime just fine. It hasn't had a problem starting that draw. And so far, no leaks in the system. We've had freezing temperatures the last week or so since I've had this in, and I just covered the hole with another piece of foam, and this whole system hasn't frozen up, even though it's gotten down to the mid-20s overnight. So it's working. So we're excited to have indoor plumbing. No more going out the door to fill a cup of water, and especially during the winter, no more hauling water up and down the hill.
Do you remember having a sink in the house?
Yes.
Like when you were really little?
Yeah.
Was that cool?
In the red house.
Yeah, in the red house we had a sink in the
And
house.
after the red house came the yellow house when we lived with our cousins.
Yeah. So, do you miss having a sink in the house?
Well, we will again, and I sort of do.
Yeah. Do you think it's really cool to have water?
Yeah.
I like that you won't have to put your shoes on every time you.
That's the idea with the house. Make life a little bit easier. We don't want to make it too easy. It still has to be interesting. I'm Nick from Fouch Off Grid. Thanks for watching.
Bye bye. Bye bye.